Millionaire freezes upon spotting the girl he secretly loved washing dishes in the kitchen. The moment Raphael Carter stepped through the rusted door of the old seaside resort kitchen, time seemed to stop. His sharp eyes caught her right away. Helena Morris, the girl who had haunted his dreams for years, now bent over a sink, scrubbing plates with tired hands. The salty air hung thick around her, mixing with the steady roar of crashing waves outside. But what hit Raphael hardest was seeing her there, in a place so far from the bright future he once imagined for them both. His breath caught, his heart thumped so loud it almost drowned the kitchen's clatter. She didn't look up. Dark strands of wet hair clung to her pale cheeks. Her uniform was stained, and her posture held the weight of years lost. It wasn't just the almost invisible scars on her wrists, or the way her shoulders seemed to slump under a silent burden. It was the ghost in her eyes, one Raphael knew too well. The other's is. The girl from Lakeside High? What's she doing here? Their curious glances cut across the kitchen like knives. Raphael's own breath froze again, his legs trembling beneath him. All at once, memories crashed in like breaking waves. Promises whispered in moonlight, secret meetings behind the bleachers, stolen kisses tasted salty as the sea. Then came the silence, the sudden absence that still echoed louder than any sound. Years ago, a tragedy tore them apart, rumors spinning faster than the tides. No one really knew what happened to Helena after that. But Raphael had never stopped searching, never stopped feeling the cold void of her absence. Suddenly, her hand trembled as she reached for a heavy pot. Raphael wanted to shout her name, to shake her awake, to explain the million things left unsaid. But she was frozen too, caught in that strange moment where the past and present slammed together. And behind him, a shadow moved, a sharp silhouette in a dark coat that sent a shiver. Little did he know the devastating secret Helena carried, a child he never knew he had, a son, Michael, born in silence, hidden in fear. Threats whispered by someone darker than the sea's deepest trough, tangled in the lies of Raphael's own sister, Claire, a woman whose name itself carried poison. Helena's heart pounded, mixing love with terror. The kitchen lights flickered like warning signals. The scent of salt water was suddenly suffocating, and then a loud crash from the dining room shattered the fragile tension. Everyone froze. Was it Claire? Had she come to destroy the fragile thread of reunion before it could even begin? The night grew colder, darker. No one dared to speak. The ghosts of their past weren't done yet. What secrets was Claire hiding in the shadows? And how far would she go to keep Michael trapped in this dangerous game? Raphael's fingers twitched, the distance between him and Helena heavier than any ocean. Could love really fight through this storm? Or would betrayal swallow them all whole? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. A loud crash from the dining room echoed. Everyone froze. A startled gasp escaped Helena's lips as she dropped the pot. The sound of metal clattering against metal, piercing the heavy silence. Raphael's heart pounded wildly. It might have been Claire, the very specter he feared, lurking in the shadows to tear them apart yet again. He took a step back, eyes glued to the doorway. The kitchen staff exchanged nervous glances, whispering in frantic tones. What if it's her? What does she want? It was like standing on the edge of a precipice, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Another crash rang out, this time louder, accompanied by shouts from the dining room. "Get away from her!" It was a man's voice, urgent and filled with hostility. Who was this? A stranger in their story, stepping into their chaotic reunion. Raphael's instincts kicked in. He moved toward the doorway, each step heavy with uncertainty. "Helena, stay back!" he called, his voice fierce yet shaking. But she only stared, mouth slightly parted, disbelief weaving across her features. Suddenly, the figure stumbled into the kitchen, a tall man clad in dark clothing, breathless and wild-eyed. In his arms, he cradled a small bundle, swathed in cloth. It was Michael. Raphael's heart raced as he registered the implications. The boy, his son, all at once. The fragmented pieces of their past swirled violently in his mind. "Run, Helena," the man yelled, and Raphael's breath hitched. Who was this guy? He hadn't known about Michael. That was the first shock. But this? Helena's hands clutched the sink, her knuckles white, not knowing whether to flee or stay. Raphael felt the tension crackle like a live wire. "What's going on?" he shouted, desperation dripping from every word. Then it happened, a flicker of recognition. The man's eyes widened, locking onto Raphael. You're the one she loved." A rush of fiery anger surged through Raphael. "And who the hell are you?" He felt the world tilt dangerously, the ground giving way beneath him. "Michael's father," the stranger snarled, the words hanging heavy and thick in the air. It was as if the ocean had swallowed the room whole. Raphael's heart dropped. "What?" he gasped, the reality shattering around him, like glass cascading to the ground, sharp and unforgiving. Could it be? Had Helena moved on? Had she built a life without him? "No," Helena cried, stepping closer. "You don't understand." Her voice was frantic, pleading, but the other man would not let up. "Understand what?" he spat. "That you've been lying to him about where he came from?" Raphael's mind raced. Lying? Helena? Why? Confusion gripped him like a vice. Everything he thought he knew was spiraling, unraveling with violent speed. Helena's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to protect you both. I thought he could be safe." Her voice trembled while the air felt thicker than ever. Suddenly, Claire's shadow loomed right behind Raphael, a wicked smile curving her lips. "Well, darling brother, looks like the truth always finds a way to swim to the surface." The room chilled as realization dawned. Claire knew more than she let on. This was bigger than he thought. Every lie was woven tightly in a tapestry of chaos. Betrayal, love, fear, all crashing together like waves in a storm. "Helena," he shouted, panic clawing at him. "You have to tell me what's going on. Who is he?" But before she could answer, lights flickered once more, plunging the kitchen into darkness. Then came a slamming door, followed by the sound of running footsteps. Raphael's heart raced, uncertainty clawing at him. Who was lying? Who was telling the truth? An uneasy silence enveloped them all. And there they stood, tangled in a web of deception, love hanging by a fragile thread. Would this be the end, or the beginning of an even darker chapter? The room chilled, the air thick with unspoken words. Raphael's heart raced, his mind spiraling through memories and fears. Helena stood there, trembling, caught between love and the weight of lies. The shadows moved again, Claire's smirk lingering like a bad taste. This wasn't just about Michael anymore. It was about everything they had lost and feared in the shadows. Then came the sound that cut through the tension, a sudden crash from outside, followed by frenzied voices echoing across the parking lot. Unwelcome nostrils smelled danger, a scent that twisted everything around them. "What was that?" someone whispered, eyes darting toward the door. Before Raphael could even react, a deafening boom erupted. A blinding flash of light filled the kitchen, engulfing everything in white. The lights flickered, shorted out, and the room, Helena. The panic in his voice sliced through the chaos. Suddenly, the wall shuddered as if an earthquake had swept through. More crashes crashing in from outside. Then an explosion of color and sound tore through the kitchen like a monster unleashed. A figure burst through the door, shadowy and frantic. They stumbled forward, bringing with them an air of urgency that filled the room with dread. "Get down!" the figure yelled, eyes wide and panicked. That's when Raphael's world shattered again. The man wasn't just a stranger. It was someone Raphael knew. James, his childhood best friend. The very truth he had buried deep in his mind. And in that split second, clarity burst through the fog. "James?" he barely managed, disbelief mixing with the chaos swirling around him. But there was no time for questions. "Get the hell out! They're coming! Claire, they're coming for Michael." Raphael's mouth fell open. "What? Why?" James's face twisted in desperation. They know everything." And with that, the room erupted. Voices screaming, pots crashing to the ground, the smell of fear thickening the air. Raphael barely registered the sight of Helena's face collapsing into shock, her eyes wide with understanding. "What do you mean?" She looked from Raphael to James, trembling. "Claire's been working with them. She was never on your side. They want Michael." A sick feeling churned in Raphael's gut, a mix of rage and betrayal. How could Claire betray him, betray Helena? The pieces of the puzzle he thought he had put together were falling apart, scattering like shattered glass. "Who are they?" he demanded, his words filled with urgency. It felt as if the walls were closing in, shadows swirling with accusations. James opened his mouth, but before he could answer, a series of sharp knocks echoed from the back door, the sound sending ice down Raphael's spine. "Get ready," James hissed, fingers twitching as if brace for confrontation. Helena turned to Raphael, tears glistening in her eyes. "We have to protect him. We have to protect our son." Her voice trembled, fear overwhelming her normally steady demeanor. Before Raphael could respond, the door burst open with a force that sent the kitchen supplies flying. There, silhouetted against the chaos, stood Claire. "Did you really think you could run from this?" She laughed, the sound hollow, severe, a haunting reminder of betrayal. He could barely breathe. In that moment, everything felt like it was unraveling. Behind her loomed shadowy figures, menacing in their intent, eyes sharp with focus. Suddenly, the reality of their situation hit Raphael like a tidal wave. The danger wasn't just external. It was wrapped tightly around every person in the room, a twisted knot of lies and love. And in a single heartbeat, he realized clutching onto truth meant facing a deeper betrayal than he could have ever imagined. The man who'd addressed them seconds earlier wasn't an ally, but a harbinger of peril, with secrets that could "Everything I did to protect you," Claire shrieked, her rage clouding the lines of right or wrong, innocence or guilt. The air thickened, each second charged with the weight of countless lies. The kitchen felt like a battlefield, with shaken resolve and lost dreams swirling like dust in the air. And then, just like that, it happened. A loud shot rang out, a gasp, and everything turned to chaos. Would any of them come out of this alive? Would love be enough to conquer deception? Or was the truth merely the beginning of their most harrowing chapter yet? The air crackled thick with tension. Raphael felt every heartbeat echo like a drum in his ears. Claire stood there, her face twisted with a mix of fury and glee, shadows curling around her like a dark cloak. She laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of victory. It was the sound of everything crumbling. Before anyone could react, another loud bang rang out. It was so sharp, so shocking that it cut through the madness. A deafening silence followed, and in that pause, Raphael's heart raced even faster. He turned to Helena, searching her eyes for something, anything to hold on to. He needed her to be okay. Out of nowhere, a bright light exploded through the back door. Raphael squinted, panic clawing at his throat. Claire's laughter turned to a scream as the light consumed everything in a blinding flash. There was a rush of air, a force that surged through the kitchen. It felt like a blast from a storm, and then nothing. Raphael blinked, trying to make sense of the chaos. The room had transformed. Shadows danced on the walls, and the smell of burnt air tinged his senses. But it was what he saw next that froze his blood. Michael was standing there, wide-eyed, no longer cradled and shielded. He stepped forward, hand reaching for Raphael. "Daddy?" The word cut through Raphael's heart, and in that split second, everything flipped. "Michael!" Helena cried out, rushing toward him. But before she took a step, the air thickened again. What held them hostage wasn't just fear or betrayal anymore. It was a deeper, unshakable truth. James, who had seemed frantic just moments before, stood oddly still. His expression morphed as he stepped back, an unexpected weight settling in his shoulders. "No, it can't be," he murmured, voice trembling as he pointed at the boy. "That's not Michael." Raphael felt his stomach drop. What was he saying? It couldn't be right. He could see the resemblance, could feel the connection. "What do you mean?" he shouted, desperation creeping in. "He's my son!" James shook his head slowly, the shadows on his face deepening. "Michael was never yours. He's Helena's, yes, but before he could finish, Claire's voice cut through, sharp and filled with menace. "Oh, this will be fun," she mocked, her eyes glittering like shards of ice. "You think you know everything? You really have no idea who the true father is." Time stalled. Every gaze in the room narrowed in on Claire, disbelief tangible in the air. Raphael's fists clenched. "What are you talking about?" he asked, voice strained, fury mixing with confusion. "All these years, you thought you were the hero, didn't you?" Claire leaned in, a wicked smile on her lips. "Michael's father is someone else, someone you trust, someone you've known forever." Helena gasped as if the words struck her. "Claire, stop it," she shouted. Eyes darting between Michael and Raphael. Her face paled, realization etching itself deep in her expression. But it was too late. The room buzzed with the kind of tension that suffocates. Raphael turned to James, eyes widening. "You can't! You wouldn't!" James's face twisted, eyes downcast. "It wasn't my choice. It was a lie I had to tell to protect you, to protect Helena from the truth." A sick feeling roiled inside Raphael, as if the icy tendrils of betrayal wrapped around his heart. "Who then?" he pressed. "Who's the father?" The kitchen erupted with gasps, whispers. A heavy silence followed, pregnant with expectation. Claire leaned back, her smile shifting from wicked to gleeful. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough. But know this, everyone has secrets, Raphael, even you. Just wait till the pieces fall into place. You'll see." And just like that, the truth lurked in the dark, waiting to strike. Would love be enough to fight through this storm of lies? Or was it all just a web of deception from which there'd be no escape? The walls seemed closer, the air thicker, and Raphael knew their world would never be the same again. The air crackled thick with tension. Raphael felt every heartbeat echo like a drum in his ears. Claire stood there, her face twisted with a mix of fury and glee, shadows curling around her like a dark cloak. She laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of victory. It was the sound of everything crumbling. before anyone could react, another loud bang rang out. It was so sharp, so shocking, that it cut through the madness. A deafening silence followed, and in that pause, Raphael's heart raced even faster. He turned to Helena, searching her eyes for something, anything, to hold on to. He needed her to be okay. And just like that, in the midst of all the chaos, the door behind Claire swung open again. But this time, it was too forceful. The hinges squealed. A group of rough-looking men burst in, dark clothes blending with the shadows. They moved like predators, eyes scanning the room. "Get down!" One shouted, pulling a gun from his belt. Time froze. Raphael grabbed Helena and pulled her close, shielding Michael behind him. Chaos erupted, everyone scrambling to find safety. The atmosphere was thick, almost suffocating. "Please, don't hurt him," Helena screamed, fear breaking her voice. The leader of the men stepped forward, a cruel grin on his face. "You think you can hide in here? You've been a thorn in our side for too long." Raphael's mind raced. Who were these men? What did they want? He could feel the weight of the moment pressing against his chest. The air was electric with fear. It was then that everything shifted. A loud pop rang out, a shot fired, and everything went sideways. Raphael felt a searing pain in his leg, crimson warmth spreading quickly, the world spinning out of control. "Raphael!" Helena cried, eyes wide, reaching for him. "No, stay with me!" He tried to focus, but dizziness washed over him like a wave. He dropped to one knee, gasping, trying to draw a breath. In that moment, time blurred. He caught a glimpse of James, horror etched on his face, as he moved to shield Michael. But it was too late. Chaos had risen to a peak. "Don't move!" One of the men yelled, pointing his gun at James, but his focus shifted fast. Then came a terrible realization, like glass shattering in his mind. Claire had been a part of this. She was in deep, deeper than Raphael had ever known. What if she had set this whole thing up? "Claire!" he screamed. "What have you done?" Claire's smile faltered just for a moment, surprise flickering over her features. "We were never safe, Raphael. You just didn't see the bigger picture." And with that, the tension snapped. Another shot rang out, and this time, it wasn't aimed at Raphael. The bullet struck Claire. She stumbled, a look of shock painted across her face as she fell to the floor, life slipping away with a jagged breath. Silence enveloped the room again. The world around Raphael shattered once more. Disbelief crashed over him like a tsunami. "What?" he stammered, the truth unraveling around him. Claire, the puppet master of this chaos, had fallen. But as Helena screamed, and the men began shouting orders, Raphael couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The room held secrets deeper than they had all realized. The very foundation of everything they knew trembled. "Raphael," James said, panic in his eyes, "we have to go, now." But where would they go? The way forward was tangled with lies, danger lurking in every shadow. Raphael's heart raced. Betrayal breathed down his neck. And a question hung heavy in the air. Was this end or the real beginning of their nightmare? Raphael stumbled back, his heart racing as he processed the shocking scene in front of him. Claire lay on the ground, her life slipping away, the expression of smugness fading into someone softer, more vulnerable. It was too surreal. But no sooner had the chaos erupted than another voice cut through the confusion. "You won't get away with this." A woman's voice, sharp and accusatory, shattering the tense silence like glass. Everyone turned to see a figure standing at the doorway. Sarah, Claire's old friend. A fierce look in her eyes, she pushed her way through the scattering crowd. "You think this ends with her? You're just beginning to see how deep the rabbit hole goes." Her breath came fast, and the fear-laced her words sent a chill up Raphael's spine. "Sarah, stay back," James warned, voice gruff, as he shielded Michael with his own body, his eyes darting back to the menacing figures who had stormed in. Raphael felt the panic rising. What did this mean? Claire's breathing was shallow, life fading quickly. A shadow passed over Raphael as Sarah kept going. "She hid more than you know. Raphael, you all have no idea what you're really up against." "What do you mean?" he yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. "What are you talking about?" Sarah was radiant in her fury. "You trust James, don't you? You think he's here to help? That he's on your side?" Raphael's heart sank. "What do you mean? James is my—" But before he could finish, Sarah interrupted. "He's been working with Claire all this time. You're just the pawn in their game." Time froze. Every gaze shifted to James. Raphael's mind raced, spiraling into confusion. "Is this true? What have you done, James?" James swallowed hard, face pale, eyes darting to Michael before he spoke. "I was trying to protect everyone." A loud scoff broke the air. "Protect? Or manipulate?" Sarah shot back, her voice slicing through the room. "You knew they'd come for Michael. You had to know, and you let it happen anyway." "No," James shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of the accusation. "It's not what you think." But Sarah forged ahead, pointing at Michael. "That boy is at the center of it all. He's not just some innocent child. He's a key, Raphael, a key to a power struggle you can't even begin to comprehend." Raphael's heart hammered in his chest. His mind reeled. Who was Michael? What did Sarah mean? The air thickened with dread. Suddenly, the door behind Sarah opened forcefully again. The room felt like it was closing in. A tall shadow stepped through. The unmistakable figure of Claire, but she looked different. Stronger, fury vibrant in her decay. "Did you think I'd be gone for long?" Claire's voice echoed, low and chilling. "Oh, you fools, you really have no idea." Raphael's gut twisted. How was she still alive? Her blood was still seeping into the floor. "You can't be." "Of course I can," she grinned, revealing something horrifying. "That little shot wouldn't stop me. You fell for it, completely." Raphael stumbled back, mind spinning. What was happening? The world around him flickered like an old film reel. "Every one of you has made this personal. And now you will pay." In that moment, the realization slammed into him harder than anything else. This whole nightmare was not just about Michael, not just about betrayal. It was a game, one Claire had been orchestrating from the start. The room erupted into chaos again, the threat of danger so close that it sent shivers through their very souls. Raphael felt lost in a whirlwind of hurt and betrayal. He turned to Helena, panic in his eyes. "What do we do?" But as she searched his face, something deep inside Raphael shifted. This was more than just an external enemy. There were secrets buried deeper than he could have ever imagined, and they were all going to have to face them. What was the truth? And what consequences would ripple through their lives now that Claire was somehow back? Would they stand together or tear each other apart? The questions echoed darker than before, leaving a chilling weight in the air that promised nothing but uncertainty ahead. The air crackled thick with tension. Raphael felt every heartbeat echo like a drum in his ears. Claire lay on the ground, her life slipping away, her expression shifting from smugness to vulnerability. And then a chill ran through him as he heard Sarah's voice cutting through the chaos again. "You don't understand. You're all puppets in a game beyond you," Sarah shouted, her eyes darting nervously. "Michael is only the beginning. You think Claire's the mastermind?" "She's a player, not the one pulling the strings." Raphael's mind spun with confusion. What are you talking about? But before Sarah could respond, the door burst open again, and in stumbled a figure from the shadows, drenched in darkness, but unmistakably familiar. What the hell is going on here? It was Claire's husband, Mark, a man whose presence usually commanded a room, but now he looked frantic, wild, like a cornered animal. "Mark!" Claire gasped, reaching out with shaking hands. "Help me, please." But his eyes were locked on her, filled with fury. "You've betrayed us for the last time, Claire. This ends now." Raphael felt the twist of fate gripping his throat. Betrayal hung thick in the air. Mark darted forward, a wild light in his eyes, and with a swift motion, he shot past Claire, grabbing Michael tight. "You've used our boy as leverage, but we're not pawns in your sick game." "Let him go!" Helena screamed, horror taking over her features as Raphael's heart sank deeper. Michael reached for his mother, confusion evident on his innocent face. "Mommy?" he cried out, trembling. "Don't touch him," Helena snapped, eyes wide, panic creating fissures in her voice. "No one is going to hurt him," Mark barked. "Not now. Not ever." But then something unexpected began to shift. Raphael stepped forward, voice shaky but firm. "Mark, whatever you think." Before he could finish, another explosion of noise erupted, echoing from outside. Gunfire, shouting, and the sound of tires screeching. The ground trembled beneath them, and a fresh wave of panic surged through the kitchen. "I can't hold them off," Sarah gasped, scrambling past Raphael to look out the door. "They're coming." Then it happened. A figure burst in through the back, a child, no more than 7. His hair was dark and unkempt, but what froze everyone still was the gleam of familiarity in his eyes. "Mom," he shouted, darting towards Helena. "Mom, I'm scared." "Who are you?" Claire's voice came out as a whisper, pure disbelief painted across her face. Raphael's heart stopped. "David?" he breathed, feeling the world tilt. The child was the mirror of himself at that age, a ghost from a past he thought long buried. "You shouldn't be here." "No, David!" Sarah gasped, her face a mask of shock and revelation. "He's alive?" Raphael felt bile rise in his throat. "What is happening? Claire, is he your son too?" Claire's face twisted, anguish battling anger. "No, you don't understand. He's the key. They want him, and now they'll stop at nothing." As the chaos intensified, weapon-wielding men stormed in from every direction, eyes blazing, intent on seizing David. Raphael's world shattered again as realization struck. This was no mere family feud. Everyone was in danger, and the stakes were higher than he had ever known. David wasn't just another child caught in the crossfire. He was the son Claire had hidden from everyone. The lies, the manipulation, they spiraled into an abyss. Time froze. As the walls closed in around them, Raphael felt the cold fingers of fear wrap around his heart. Would everything unravel in that moment? Could trust survive? All at once, he knew this battle was not just for Michael, but for truths buried deeper, tangled in layers of family ties. And with that, the air felt electric, heavy with unspoken outcomes. Who would emerge from this chaos alive? Would they save the children, or lose themselves in the process? The stakes had never been higher, and every heartbeat echoed a countdown to the unknown. The air crackled thick with tension. Raphael felt every heartbeat echo like a drum in his ears. Claire lay on the ground, her life slipping away, but in that moment, every gaze shifted to David, Helena's son, the boy who had crashed into their chaos like an unrelenting wave. A murmur spread through the room, confusion swirling among the already frayed threads of loyalty. "David, get back," Helena shouted, reaching out for him, desperate to shield him. But the child was already moving toward her, innocence shining in his terrified gaze. Mark clenched his jaw, his grip tightening around Michael. "Why's he here?" he barked, eyes darting between the two boys. "What else are you hiding, Claire?" "Enough!" Claire's voice was weak, a shadow of its former self, but the steel in her gaze remained. "You think you know everything? You have no idea what's coming." And just as Raphael's heart raced with questions, the walls trembled violently, a low rumble echoing like thunder. The lights flickered overhead, casting ominous shadows. It felt like the very foundation of the kitchen could crack open and swallow them whole. "Get down!" James shouted, pulling Michael closer as everyone rushed to find shelter. But before they could react, a deafening crash erupted as the back door was shattered. A group of men poured in, grimy faces twisted in malice, eyes scanning for their prize. "Where is he?" one demanded, voice like gravel, scanning the chaos. "Where's the kid?" Raphael's blood ran cold. "David!" he yelled, grabbing the boy's arm, pulling him close. "Stay with us." Fear clenched inside him, icy fingers around his heart. They couldn't take the children, not now. But before anyone could move, Claire suddenly stood. "I'll handle this," she gasped, staggering to her feet, a fire igniting in her eyes. As if she had summoned them, the men halted, their surprise quickly shifting to a calculating interest. "Your child belongs with us, Claire," the leader spat, steel in his tone. "You can't hide him anymore." Raphael felt the world tilt again, confusion spiraling, the threads of loyalty unraveling before him. Up until now, Claire had been the architect of their pain. Had she orchestrated this? "No!" Helena screamed, her voice cracking. "He's just a child!" But Claire took a step forward, unwavering. "No, I'm not just a mother. I'm his protector," she asserted, her voice still strong. "But I need to know you will keep him safe from the others." Then came the twist, sharper than any knife. "The others?" David asked, naivete still clouding his expression. And in a flash, Claire's demeanor shifted. It was like watching a mask fall. "David," she said tightly, "you're more than just my son. You're the key to everything. They want you." An electric silence fell, and the air grew leaden with revelation. Raphael's insides twisted as the pieces clicked into place. "What does that mean?" Claire's gaze pierced through the room. "There are people who have been after us for years, after me, because of who I was before we met." The men shifted, their focus shifting onto Claire, murmurs of recognition sparking in the air. But it was the next words that unleashed chaos. "You're not just a mother. You're the daughter of the man they've been hunting." Raphael stared, mouth dry, as the words hung in the air like a storm cloud. "What? What do you mean?" "I am the bloodline they've been trying to erase. My father, he was involved in something dangerous. And they want David because he represents our legacy. They want to control him." Stunned gasps filled the room, eyes darting between Claire and the boys. Michael trembled, pulling closer to James, fear etched across his young face. Suddenly, everything Raphael thought he knew shattered. Claire wasn't a mere villain in their story. She was a woman fighting against a dark legacy to protect her son. Before he could process this shocking truth, the front door swung open again. This time, it was another figure. A woman, striking and fierce, strode in, exuding a dangerous energy. "Everyone freeze," she commanded, eyes scanning the room with unwavering authority. All heads turned. "Serena?" Claire's voice cracked, the name a whisper that seemed to slice through the crowd. Recognition lit up the room, strands of connection forming stronger than ever. "Claire, we don't have much time. They're coming for both boys, and they won't stop until they get what they want." With that, the weight of the revelation crashed down like a tidal wave. Raphael's heart raced, pounding in his chest as he grasped the enormity of what was unfolding. Serena's sudden arrival shifted everything again. As the tension coiled around them, Raphael felt a heaviness settle in the pit of his stomach. Who could he trust? The lines were blurred, relationships twisted in unexpected ways. Would the truth unite them or tear them apart even further? As urgency crackled in the air, they had to make a choice. The true battle was just beginning, and the fate of the children hung in the balance, precariously teetering on the edge of chaos. The tension in the air was suffocating. Raphael could sense the pulse of fear racing among them, like a wild animal caught in a trap. Claire's husband, Mark, seemed to hover over the room, fierce determination mixing with panic in his eyes. He clutched Michael tightly, ready to defend against whatever darkness loomed ahead. "Enough of this! I came here for answers," Mark barked, looking at Claire with a mixture of disgust and confusion. "What have you done?" Claire was desperate, her expression a tempest of love and regret. "I'm trying to protect them, Mark. You don't understand what I—" But before she could continue, another loud crash resonated from outside, shattering the frantic silence. It was louder this time, vibrating through the walls of the kitchen. Raphael's instincts kicked in. Every nerve in his body was on high alert. "Stay back," he shouted, steering Helena and David closer to the center. The boy looked at him, eyes wide and terrified, as if sensing the storm approaching. Sarah stepped forward, her expression fierce. "It's them! They're here!" Another rumble echoed through the door, and the doorknob rattled violently. Raphael's heart raced. Time slowed as he imagined the worst, dread spreading through him. Then the door burst open. A strong gust of wind swept through, and a figure collapsed inside. It was a woman, stumbled, clutching her side, blood seeping through her fingers. "Help me," she gasped, collapsing to the floor. "Chloe?" Claire shouted, eyes bulging with panic. The room fell silent, all attention drawn to the newcomer. Raphael stared, frozen. "What? Who is she?" The sight of her weakened form was terrifying. Chloe raised her eyes, filled with anguish. "I couldn't stop them, Claire. They know everything. They're coming for David." The air thickened, a real weight of dread, like a storm cloud gathering. Raphael felt a chill creep down his spine. David looked at Claire, then back to the stranger. "What's happening? Who are they?" Before Claire could respond, Chloe's eyes locked onto Raphael, a knowing look flickering across her face. "You don't understand. You're part of this too. They want you." Raphael's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" But before Chloe could answer, the front door swung back on its hinges, and a pair of figures entered. Two men, imposing and dangerously confident, as if they had just stepped out of a nightmare. They scanned the room, eyes landing on Chloe first. "No!" Claire screamed, rushing forward. "Get away from her!" But before anyone could react, one of the men pulled out a weapon, aiming it directly at Chloe. "You shouldn't have come back. You betrayed us." Raphael felt the air escape his lungs like a punctured balloon. Fear seized him. "No!" Then came the shocking twist. Chloe raised her other hand palm up in a desperate gesture. "I'm bringing them back. I didn't betray you. I was trying to save." A deafening bang echoed in the room as the gun fired. Raphael's heart stopped. Everything blurred, and time stretched in a slow, agonizing freeze frame. The bullet hit Chloe square in the chest. She crumpled to the floor in a rush of crimson, shock sweeping over the room like a violent tide. The men grinned, their expressions dripping with malice. And in that moment, the world shifted. Chloe's eyes locked onto Raphael's as she fell. "Find out who you really are." A whisper that echoed like a ghost in the air. Raphael staggered back, a wave of horror washing over him. What does that mean? But it was too late. The men bolted from the room, laughing as they vanished into the chaos outside. He glared at Claire. What did she mean? A betrayal? My identity? Claire's face twisted in grief. "Don't you see? Everything was a lie. We're all tangled in this. Your past, my past. You need to understand. Raphael felt dizzy, the stakes rising higher with every revelation. What had they all been hiding? But as they stood surrounded by fear and uncertainty, the truth hovered just beyond reach. The room felt smaller, every breath strained, as they grasped the reality that the game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Raphael's heart raced as he stood frozen, shock coursing through him like icy water. Chloe lay crumpled on the floor, the life slipping from her eyes, and the sound of her last words echoed in his mind. Find out who you really are. Panic twisted in his chest. He had thought the chaos was behind them, but it seemed it was only just beginning. Get down, Mark shouted, pulling Michael close as the men began to regroup. The air snapped with tension. Raphael glanced at Claire, her face raw with grief and anger. Did she truly understand the weight of their shared past? Suddenly, a harsh laugh ricocheted against the walls. A man stepped forward, his voice gravelly, dripping with menace. You think you can escape this, Claire? You've put everyone in danger. We're not letting you take another child. Helena spat, anger igniting in her voice. David clung to her, trembling. But the man grinned wider, amused by their desperate unity. This is bigger than you think. Before anyone could react, a loud explosion rocked the kitchen. The window shattered, sending glass flying like deadly confetti. Shouts filled the air, and Raphael felt adrenaline surge through him. He grabbed Helena and pulled her and the boys close. We need to leave, now. Follow me, James yelled, leading a path through the chaos. They ducked and dodged debris, hearts pounding, but Raphael's eyes were locked on Claire. She fought through the haze, and as they moved toward the exit, he grabbed her arm. Tell me everything. Claire's face twisted with uncertainty, eyes wide. I didn't want any of this. I thought I was keeping you safe. My past is full of darkness, and they know I've hidden it. But this is about more than my mistakes. What do they want with David? Raphael pressed, panic bubbling over. What's the key to all this? His bloodline is tied to a power they crave, Claire explained hurriedly, a desperation lacing her words. They want to control him to use my father's legacy to their advantage. You must protect him. Suddenly, a gunshot rang through the air, a stunning blast that sent shudders through Raphael's bones. Everything exploded in chaos again, men shouting, gunfire erupting, glass shattering. The world felt like it was crumbling. Keep moving, James yelled, as adrenaline surged, driving them forward. They barreled outside into a world consumed by shadows. Night had fallen, thick and heavy with despair. A dark figure emerged from the gloom, the last piece of the puzzle. Raphael felt the breath catch in his throat as he recognized the man, his father's old friend, Rick. You shouldn't be here, Raphael shouted, incredulous. Rick stepped closer, eyes narrowed with determination. I'm here to help. I have answers about who you are. But now is not the time. What do you mean? Raphael pressed, the urgency in his voice rising to a crescendo. The truth is more dangerous than you know, Rick said gravely, eyeing the distant shouts and chaos. We have to get inside before it's too late. The tension in the air shifted as Raphael realized the unsteady ground was crumbling, ivy-covered vines from the past wrapping tighter around his heart. As the world blurred into confusion, he felt a surge, a spark of hope. They were together, and at this moment, solidarity felt like a blanket against the storm. They rushed toward an old van, engines rumbling in the background, and as the group piled in, Raphael's gaze fell on Helena. We'll get through this together, he whispered, and her eyes softened, revealing a flicker of trust amid the chaos. The roar of the engines drowned out the screams behind them, and as they sped into the unknown night, uncertainty loomed ahead. The answers lay tangled in a web of betrayal and blood, and they were on the brink of uncovering everything. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of a new whirlwind, a story still waiting to unfold. If you enjoyed this mind-bending journey, you must subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the end.